Eating. We all do it. You might be surprised to learn that it wasn't actually invented by the Americans who simply turned it into an extreme sport, but rather our relationship with eating goes much further back into a primordial past. After first domesticating animals, our biggest breakthrough came in the form of agriculture. Although they didn't understand why, humans had learned to exploit evolutionary processes to select favourable characteristics, and in just a few thousand years had bred from the humble weeds and grasses a huge variety of foods that we eat today. Of course, without even the most basic knowledge of biology, failed harvests, droughts and disease were all blamed on the supernatural, everything from angry gods to witchcraft. And the solutions they came up with were equally baffling. Everything from human sacrifice to magic spells were employed. Now, despite the plethora of knowledge we've gained from countless scientists through careful observation and study, there are still some scholastically challenged individuals who much prefer the old ways. They see value in seeking wisdom from folks who used to live in huts and wipe their arse with leaves. These howl at the moon knuckle draggers are simply known to us as the Specials. Oh, look, there's some. They call themselves biodynamic agriculturalists, which is basically gardening with magic, and they harbour an irrational fear of chemicals. Of course, they've got absolutely no idea what a chemical actually is, or that literally everything in the world is made up of them, including those giant shit balls that they're currently hand-rolling on this manure pile. No, instead they'd rather believe that it's magic, and who better to introduce us to the concept than an actual wizard? Jeff Poppen, and he's going to introduce us to the rudiments of biodynamic agriculture. Jeff is keen to point out the differences between mere organic farming and what is, in his opinion, the far superior method of biodynamics.
This potato field has no Colorado potato beetle infestations at all, and that's oftentimes a big problem around Tennessee.
That's really impressive, Jeff. And to what do you owe the absence of Colorado potato beetle?
Some biodynamic practitioners burn insects when the sun is in the constellation of Taurus, and then they use that ash and sprinkle it on the land to help give a signal that that species of insects isn't welcome on that piece of land.
Ah, so you burn the insects while the sun is in the constellation of Taurus, the giant bull. Okay, I can see that. I get that. It seems to make sense to me, although I can't seem to put my finger on exactly why. The giant bull. So in a quieter moment, when Jeff's not tripping out of his tits on the fumes of smoked Colorado potato beetles, he does take a little bit of time out of his day to show us how he whips up his magic potions.
This is horn manure, and this is manure that I stuffed into a cow horn last winter, and it's changed into a humus product.
According to Jeff, you haven't even tried a salad until you've tried one grown using magic shit humus.
We potentize this horn manure by stirring a little bit of it in 3 gallons of water, stirring it vigorously for an hour. I'm going to sprinkle it on an acre of freshly tilled garden soil right before planting time.
Ah, the age-old and scientifically verified process of making something stronger or potentizing it using the method of diluting it down in lots and lots and lots of water. You know, I've heard of that somewhere before.
The horn manure preparation helps the earth and water forces to create a stable humus. Here we have another biodynamic preparation that I just dug up.
Oh, what the fuck is that, Jeff? Don't touch it with your hands.
It's chamomile flowers that I made sausages with last year.
Sorry, I panicked. I'm still a little freaked out by the shit horn. I thought you'd gone and done something weird again.
This is the intestines of a cow that I put the chamomile flowers in. The yarrow flowers are clipped off, so just the little bitty florets are used. They're sewn up in the bladder of a stag, that's a male deer. I hang it up in the sun during the summer and then bury it in the winter. This is dandelion flowers sewed up into the mesentery of a cow. As this preparation will be buried in the soil for a year, and then when it's dug up, it'll have formed a humus product.
So if, like me, you're thinking that biodynamics is nothing more than taking some organic material, stuffing it inside some animal parts because reasons, burying it in a hole in the ground because magic, and if you come back in a year, you'll have a magic compost product that you could grow absolutely anything in, then whoa there. Special Agent Jeff, during a recent Defence Against the Dark Arts classroom, was keen to tell his group of homeschoolers that there's a little bit more to it than that. You can't just go making any old preparation in any old hole in the ground.
This one is buried under a mucky place in a spring or a little branch. And so we're going to a place that has like a diseasy looking place, where it's kind of muddy and mucky, and then we'll bury this cow skull there, and then a year later take it up, and this is what comes out of it.
Excuse me, the fuck did you just say?
We're putting it into the skull cavity of a cow, a freshly killed cow. Take the brains out, put the white oak bark, bury it for a year in a mud hole, and then pull it out, take the white oak bark out, and use a small amount of that in our compost pile. It helps the plants to keep diseases away.
Right.
Another preparation we make is ground up quartz crystals.
So Jeff, the chemophobe crusader, whose mission it is to rid farming of harmful chemicals, whips up a batch of silica dust, breathing in which is known to cause long-term health effects for humans and even death.
And these are ground up and buried in a cow horn during the summer months. Again, they're stirred vigorously for an hour and sprinkled on the plants as they're growing to help the sun and the air forces to ripen the plants and make the food more nutritious.
I mean, call me a cynical old fool, but I'm beginning to wonder that if a curriculum that contains charms, potions, herbology, alchemy, and yet is devoid of anything actually useful, may or may not be swaying Jeff's opinion as to the actual efficacy of biodynamic farming. And if after everything you've seen and heard, you're not quite convinced whether or not you should be hanging up your tried and tested fertilisers and insecticides in favour of cow skulls, magic crystals and Colorado potato beetle smokers, then Jeff would like to make one final appeal to you as to why it's a good idea.
Food, like wine, has a sense or a taste of the place where it's grown. By using all of our fertilizers from within the farm's borders, we can develop a unique farm individuality.
Well, folks, you heard it from the man himself. If your food's looking a little bit bland, if your next meal is missing the sense or the taste of some fermented shithorn that's been buried in a diseasy looking mucky place with a side of lethal silica dust, then why don't you check out Biodynamics from the Big Book of Woo, and hopefully you could join me next time when we look at some more specials.
I have tried it if they had said that I had to believe it. I just wouldn't have tried it. But they said, no, you don't have to believe it. Putting manure in a cow horn and burying it for half a year and stirring it of this much in 3 gallons of water and putting it on an acre is going to help your soil? No, I don't believe that. I still really, don't believe it.